I should have known something was wrong when Terrence insisted on handling all the reception details himself. We'd been together 6 years, met at Howard during my junior year, him a grad student in the business school with dreams bigger than DC could hold. 6 years of late-night study sessions that turned into breakfast dates, of him hyping me up through nursing school clinicals, of Sunday dinners at his grandmother's house in Anacostia, where she'd slip me Tupperware full of greens and cornbread when he wasn't looking. 6 years of building something I thought was solid, something real, something worth the white dress I was wearing, and the 200 people packed into this ballroom at the Anthem overlooking the wharf. But standing there in my reception hall, December cold pressing against the floor-to-ceiling windows, string lights casting everything in gold, watching my new husband, my husband, we'd said the words 2 hours ago, watching Terrence approach the DJ booth with a champagne flute and that smile he wore when he was about to close a deal, I felt my stomach drop. My name is Kennedy Lawson. Well, Kennedy Lawson Pierce now, as of 4 p.m. today. I'm 29, and up until about 60 seconds ago, this was supposed to be the best day of my life. Can I get everyone's attention? Terrence's voice boomed through the speakers, smooth and confident like always. He was good at this, working a room, making people lean in. That's what made him successful in commercial real estate, that charm that felt like sunlight until you realized you were getting burned. The chatter died down. 200 faces turned toward him. My family from Atlanta, his family from DC and PG County, our college friends, his co-workers, my nursing school girls, everyone we loved crammed into this space that had cost more than my entire first year's salary at MedStar Georgetown. I just want to thank you all for being here, Terrence continued, and I stood frozen by our sweetheart table, my hand gripping the back of my chair. Something in his tone was off, too bright, like he was performing. Today has been perfect, absolutely perfect, and I wanted to share something special with everyone because Kennedy always says I don't open up enough, right, baby? He looked at me. Everyone looked at me. I managed a smile that felt like glass cutting my face. So I thought, what better way to open up than to share some of our journey, the real journey, the one that got us here. He nodded at the DJ, Marcus, someone from his office. I'd met him twice, and Marcus did something on his laptop. The screens mounted on either side of the dance floor flickered to life. My breath caught. It was a group chat. Our group chat. The one Terrence had with his boys. The one called The Council, that he thought was funny. I'd seen the name pop up on his phone 1,000 times, but never thought much of it. Guys talk shit. I knew that. I had my own group chat with my girls where we said things that would never see daylight. But this was different. The messages were projected 10 feet high in crystal clarity, white text on dark background, and I watched my wedding reception read them in real time. Terrence. Y'all, I'm really doing this. Getting married tomorrow. Devin. My boy. Finally locking it down. Marcus. About time. Kennedy's good people. Terrence. Yeah, she's solid. Good on paper, you know. Nurse, stable, family-oriented, wife material for sure. I felt my mother's hand on my arm. She'd appeared beside me, her burgundy mother of the bride dress rustling. Kennedy, what is this? I couldn't answer. I was reading. Chris. You sound hype, bro. Terrence. I mean, it's the right move. I'm 32, she's 29, we've been together long enough. Her family loves me, my grandma loves her. Makes sense. Devin. But? Terrence. But nothing. This is what you do. You get to a certain point. You marry the woman who makes sense. The ballroom had gone completely silent. Not even the clink of glasses, not even breathing. Just the sound of the heater humming and someone's phone camera clicking as they recorded this, as they captured the moment my marriage died 2 hours after it began. Marcus. T, you good? You don't sound like a man about to marry the love of his life. Terrence. Love is complicated, man. I love her, I do. She's my best friend. But is she the one? I don't know. Is there even such a thing as the one? We're compatible. We want the same things. That's more than most people get. My hand was shaking. My mother's grip tightened on my arm and I could hear her breathing, sharp and furious beside me. Across the room, I saw Terrence's mother stand up, her face stricken. Chris. Yo, if you're having doubts. Terrence. Not doubts exactly. Just being realistic. Kennedy's great. She'll be a great wife, a great mother. She's got her career. She's low drama. She doesn't pressure me. She's the smart choice. If you're listening to this and you've ever felt like someone's second choice, Like you're the makes sense option instead of the can't live without option. I need you to stay with me. Because what happened next changed everything I understood about love and self-respect, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on those notifications, because this story goes places I never saw coming. Devin, the smart choice. Damn, that's cold. Terrence, it's honest. Look, I'm not trying to be an asshole. I care about her. But y'all remember Simone? My vision blurred. Simone, his ex from undergrad, the one he dated before me, the one he said was too chaotic, too unpredictable, the one he said he'd outgrown. Marcus, the girl from sophomore year? Terrence, yeah, I saw her last month. Ran into her at that conference in Atlanta. Atlanta. He'd gone to Atlanta for a real estate conference in November. Stayed 4 days. Called me every night. Told me he missed me. Terrence. We got drinks. And man, it was like no time had passed. That chemistry. That spark. You know when you just feel it with someone? Then Chris. Oh shit. Terrence. Nothing happened. I'm not a cheater. But it made me realize what I'm giving up, you know? That intensity. That passion. Kennedy's not like that. She's steady. Predictable. Safe. Safe. He'd said it like an insult. Devin. So why are you marrying her? Terrence. Because Simone's a mess. She's on her 3rd career change. She moves every 2 years. She's never going to settle down. And I'm tired of chaos. I want stability. I want someone who's going to be there, who's going to build with me. Kennedy's that person. And maybe that's what adult love is, right? Choosing the person who makes sense over the person who makes you crazy. Marcus. That's bleak as hell, bro. Terrence. It's practical. My parents had passion and they divorced. My grandparents had compatibility and they were married 50 years. I'm choosing longevity over fireworks. Chris. Have you told Kennedy any of this? Terrence. Hell no. Why would I? She's happy. She gets the wedding, the ring, the last name. She gets everything she wanted. What she doesn't know won't hurt her. The projection froze on that last message. The date stamp read December 19th, yesterday. The night before our wedding, while I was at my parents' hotel suite doing the traditional separation, believing in fate and forever, he was texting his boys about how I was the safe choice, the smart choice, the girl who made sense instead of the girl who made him feel alive. I looked at Terrence. He was standing by the DJ booth, his face gray, his mouth open, the champagne flute dangling from his hand like he'd forgotten he was holding it. Marcus, the DJ, had his hands up, backing away from the laptop like it had caught fire. Kennedy, Terrence started. Don't. My voice came out steady. Too steady. I was watching myself from outside my body, watching this woman in a white dress at her own reception, watching her world crack apart in front of 200 witnesses. Don't say my name. Baby, I can explain. Explain what? I stepped away from the sweetheart table, away from my mother's restraining hand. My heels clicked on the hardwood as I walked toward him, and the crowd parted like I was radioactive. Explain how you married me because I'm low drama? Because I make sense on paper? Because I'm the smart choice? It's not like that. It's exactly like that. I just read it. We all just read it. I gestured at the room, at the screens, at the evidence of his betrayal blown up 10 feet high. You put it on blast yourself. I didn't. That wasn't supposed to. He turned to Marcus, fury replacing the shock on his face. What the hell, man? I asked you to do a slideshow of our photos, not... You sent me the wrong file. Marcus's voice cracked. You said the folder marked reception. I opened what was marked reception. The screenshots were marked reception? They were in a folder marked reception, on your Google Drive. I felt something click into place. You were going to show this to someone. You saved screenshots of your own messages. Why? Terrence's jaw worked. He looked caught, cornered. Around us, whispers started bubbling up like water coming to boil. Why, Terrence? It doesn't matter. Why did you save screenshots of you talking shit about me to your boys? He swallowed hard. I was going to send them to someone, to Simone, to show her I was thinking about her, that she wasn't crazy for thinking there was still something between us. The room erupted. Not loud, but a collective intake of breath, a shift in energy that felt like the floor tilting. My mother made a sound I'd never heard before, something between a gasp and a growl. Terrence's grandmother, the one who'd fed me, welcomed me, told me I was the daughter she'd always wanted, stood up from her table and walked out without a word. You were going to send them to your ex. I repeated it slowly, making sure I understood. After the wedding. After you married me. You were going to tell her you settled. Kennedy, please. How long? My voice was rising now, shaking. How long have you been talking to her? He didn't answer. How long, Terrence? Since the conference. We've been texting. Just as friends. You're texting your ex-girlfriend about how you're settling for me and you think that's just friends? I never said I was settling. What she doesn't know won't hurt her. I quoted his own words back at him and he flinched. You literally said I'm the smart choice instead of the passionate choice. You said you don't know if I'm the one. You married me thinking maybe there's someone better out there. That's not... I was just processing... You were processing whether to marry me the night before our wedding. The truth of it hit me like a physical blow. While I'd been with my bridesmaids, drinking champagne and laughing about how I'd finally found my person, he'd been telling his friends he was choosing longevity over fireworks. While I'd been too excited to sleep, imagining our future, he'd been weighing his options and deciding I was the practical pick. I'd been so stupid. Everyone out. The words came from my father. He'd been silent until now, sitting at the family table with my aunt and uncle, his face unreadable in that way he got when he was furious. My father is 6'3" and played college ball at Morehouse, and when he stands up, people notice. Everyone out except family. Now. The guests moved fast. I watched them file out, friends avoiding my eyes, cousins shooting me sympathetic looks, Terrence's co-workers practically running for the exits. Someone grabbed my bouquet off the sweetheart table. Someone else picked up a dropped napkin. Within 5 minutes, the ballroom was empty except for my parents, my brother Marcus, different Marcus, my actual brother who'd flown in from Houston, Terrence's mother and father, his grandmother who'd returned to stand in the doorway, and the two of us. The DJ had fled. The screens were black now. The evidence was gone, but we all knew what we'd seen. I think, my father said quietly, you need to explain yourself, son. Terrence looked at him, then at me, then at his own parents. His mother was crying silently, tears tracking through her makeup. His father had his arms crossed, his expression stone. I love Kennedy, Terrence said. It sounded hollow. I do. I know what those messages looked like, but I was being stupid. Cold feet. Every groom gets cold feet. Not like that. My brother Marcus stepped forward. He'd been my man of honor, walked me down the aisle with my father, cried during the vows. Now he looked like he wanted to hit something. Not trash-talking your bride to your boys, not texting your ex, not questioning whether she's the one after you already proposed. I wasn't questioning. Is there even such a thing as the one? Marcus quoted. We all saw it, T. You were questioning everything. I'm allowed to have doubts. Not out loud. Terrence's mother's voice cracked through the room. Not in writing, not where she can see them. What were you thinking? I wasn't thinking. I was venting. It didn't mean anything. It meant everything. I heard myself say it, heard the flatness in my own voice. I was done crying, done shaking. Something in me had gone cold and clear. It meant you see me as a checkbox, good on paper, wife material, the woman who makes sense, not the woman you can't live without. That's not true. Then tell me right now, looking at me, that you're in love with me the way you were in love with Simone. He opened his mouth, closed it, looked away. That was answer enough. We're done, I said. Kennedy, we're done. This marriage is over. I'm filing for annulment on Monday. You can't, we just got married and you immediately projected proof that you settled for me, that you wish you were with someone else, that you're only here because I'm the smart choice. I pulled off my rings, engagement ring, wedding band, the set he'd proposed with in front of the Lincoln Memorial on a cherry blossom evening last April. I held them out. Take them. He didn't move. I set them on the sweetheart table. Turned to my parents. Can we go? My mother was already moving, grabbing her purse, her coat. My father put his arm around me and I let myself be small for a minute, let him guide me toward the exit. Behind us, I heard Terrence's father say, "How could you be so goddamn stupid?" And Terrence's voice cracking, "I can fix this." But I was already gone. We went back to my apartment, the one I'd kept, thank God, even though Terrence had pushed me to give it up and move in with him. Something had made me hesitate, made me say I wanted to wait until after the wedding. I'd thought it was practicality. Now I realized it was intuition. My bridesmaids were already there. They'd left the reception with everyone else but had beaten us home, had used the spare key I'd given my best friend Aisha, and they'd transformed my living room into crisis headquarters. There were Popeye's bags on the counter, wine bottles on the coffee table, Tissues stacked like ammunition. Aisha, Janelle, Nicole, and my cousin Destiny, my girls since college, through everything. They surrounded me the second I walked in. We saw, Aisha said quietly. Before we left, we saw. I nodded. Couldn't speak yet. That was some bullshit, Nicole said. She was the blunt one. Always had been. I never liked him anyway. You literally gave a toast about how perfect we were together. I was lying. For you. Because you loved him and I wanted you to be happy. It startled a laugh out of me. Broken, sharp, but real. They helped me out of my dress. That was the worst part somehow, watching Aisha unhook each tiny button down my spine, feeling the weight of the dress fall away. I'd loved this dress. Spent 8 months searching for it, tried on 67 others before I found this one at a boutique in Georgetown. Lace sleeves, fitted bodice, full skirt. I'd felt like a princess. Now it was just fabric. Expensive fabric that cost $3,000 and represented the biggest mistake of my life. I put on leggings and a Howard sweatshirt, washed off my makeup, took down my hair from the elaborate updo that had taken 3 hours. When I looked in the mirror, I saw myself again. Not a bride, not Mrs. Pierce, just Kennedy. 29 and single and completely untethered. My phone was exploding. Texts from everyone who'd been at the reception. Calls I wasn't answering. Instagram DMs from people I hadn't talked to in years who'd somehow already heard the story. Social media moved fast, and apparently a groom projecting messages calling his bride the smart choice at his own reception was viral-worthy content. I turned it off, handed it to my mother. Don't let me look. She nodded, slipped it into her purse. We sat in my living room and ate chicken and drank wine, and nobody asked me if I was okay because the answer was obvious. Around midnight, my father went back to the hotel. He had an early flight, had to get back to Atlanta for work. He hugged me hard before he left. You're going to be fine, he said. Better than fine. You're going to realize you dodged a bullet. Dad, I married the bullet. Then you're going to get unmarried. Fast. And then you're going to live your life without a man who thinks you're a checkbox. He kissed my forehead. You're not a checkbox, Kennedy. You're the whole damn list. After he left, my mother stayed. She slept in my bed with me like I was little again, like I'd had a nightmare and needed comfort, which I had, which I did. I didn't sleep much. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those messages projected on the screen. Good on paper. Wife material. The smart choice. What she doesn't know won't hurt her. What killed me wasn't just that he'd thought it. It was that he'd said it out loud, that he'd typed it out, preserved it, planned to share it with another woman, that he'd been so confident I'd never find out. Sunday morning, I woke up to my mother making breakfast. Scrambled eggs, turkey bacon, grits, comfort food. I sat at my small kitchen table in my small apartment that was suddenly my only apartment again, and I tried to figure out what came next. You need a lawyer, my mother said, setting a plate in front of me. And you need to get ahead of this story. What story? Baby, you had 200 people watch your husband confess to settling for you. This is going to be everywhere. You need to control the narrative. She was right. My phone was still off, but I could feel it buzzing in her purse across the room, a constant vibration like a swarm of bees. I don't want to control anything. I just want to disappear. You can't disappear. You're a nurse at a major hospital. You have friends, family, a whole life here. You can't let his mess define you. But it already did, didn't it? I was now Kennedy, the girl who got humiliated at her own wedding. Kennedy, the smart choice. Kennedy, the one who wasn't enough to be the one. My brother called around noon. Just landed back in Houston. Listen, I've been thinking. You should move. Move where? Houston. Stay with me and Jessica for a while. Get away from DC, clear your head, figure out your next steps. You can transfer hospitals. MedStar has locations everywhere. Just get out of there. It was tempting. Run away, start over somewhere nobody knew my story. But something stubborn in me resisted. I'm not letting him chase me out of my own city. It's not about him. It's about you healing somewhere safe. I am safe. I have my apartment, my job, my girls. And everywhere you go, you'll run into people who were at that reception. People who saw. He had a point. DC was small in that way. Professional circles overlapped, social networks tangled. I couldn't go to brunch in Shaw without running into someone from Terrence's office. Couldn't go to a happy hour in Navy Yard without seeing mutual friends. The city that had felt like home suddenly felt like a trap. But I still said no. Because leaving felt like losing, and I'd already lost enough. Monday morning, I went to work. Walked into MedStar Georgetown like nothing had happened, changed into my scrubs, pulled my hair into a ponytail. My nurse manager, Diane, found me before my shift started. Kennedy. Oh, honey, I heard. Of course she'd heard. Her daughter had been at the wedding. I'm fine, I lied. You don't have to be fine. If you need time, I need normal. I need work. I need to think about anything except my own life. She studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, you're on the cardiac floor today. It's going to be busy. It was busy. And that was exactly what I needed. For 12 hours, I didn't think about Terrence or the reception or those messages. I just moved, checking vitals, administering meds, talking to patients, updating charts. Medicine was predictable in a way nothing else in my life was. Follow the protocols, trust the training, save the lives you could save. One of my patients was a 72-year-old woman recovering from a heart attack. Mrs. Patterson from Petworth, with 5 kids and 12 grandkids, and a husband who'd been by her side for 50 years. He came every day, sat in the chair by her bed, held her hand while she slept. 50 years, I said, adjusting her IV. That's beautiful. It's work, Mrs. Patterson said, her voice raspy. People think long marriages are about finding the right person, but really they're about being the right person, choosing each other every day, even when it's hard. Did you ever doubt? The question came out before I could stop it. Did you ever wonder if he was the one? She smiled. Baby, there's no such thing as the one. There's just the one you choose. And I chose James, and he chose me, and we kept choosing each other, even when we wanted to kill each other. That's the secret. I thought about Terrence saying he chose longevity over fireworks, but he hadn't really chosen me, had he? He'd chosen the idea of me, the version that fit his timeline, his image, his plan. He'd never chosen the real me because he didn't know her, didn't want to know her. I was just the supporting character in his story, the practical wife who'd give him stability while he dreamed about passion. When I got home that night, Aisha was waiting outside my building. She'd brought food, Thai from the place on U Street, and more wine. You can't just go to work and pretend everything's normal, she said, following me upstairs. Watch me. Kennedy, you need to process this. I'm processing. No, you're avoiding. There's a difference. She was right, but I didn't want to hear it. We ate in silence for a while, then she said, Have you talked to him? No. He's been calling me, and Janelle, and Nicole. He wants to talk to you. I don't care what he wants. He's saying it was a misunderstanding, that the messages were taken out of context. I laughed, bitter. What context makes she's the smart choice instead of the passionate choice okay? None, that's what I told him. Aisha poured more wine. But he's not giving up. He's telling everyone it was cold feet, that he loves you, that he made a mistake. He made a lot of mistakes. Marrying me was just the last one. Tuesday, I met with a lawyer. Aisha's cousin, a family law attorney who specialized in annulments. Her office was in a high-rise downtown, all glass and steel, and she sat across from me with a legal pad and sympathetic eyes. Annulment is tricky, she explained. In DC, you need grounds. Fraud, duress, mental incapacity. Just having regrets isn't enough. What about marrying me under false pretenses? What about him being in love with someone else? That's harder to prove. Unless he explicitly lied about his feelings in the vows or coerced you into marriage. He lied about everything. Our whole relationship was a lie. She nodded slowly. We can argue fraud, emotional fraud. The fact that he was communicating with an ex, that he expressed doubts about the marriage before it happened. But it's going to be a fight. He'll contest it. How long? Months, maybe. And expensive. I looked out the window at the city spread below us, at the monuments in the distance, at the life I'd built here that now felt like someone else's. What if I just file for divorce? Faster. Simpler. You can probably get it done in 6 months if he doesn't fight custody or assets. We don't have kids. We kept our finances separate. There's nothing to fight over. Then divorce is your cleanest option. I signed the paperwork. Paid the retainer with money from my savings account, the one I'd been adding to for years, the one that was supposed to be for our honeymoon to Ghana next summer. Another dream down the drain. That night, Terrence showed up at my apartment. I heard the knock, looked through the peephole, saw him standing in the hallway in his work clothes, holding flowers. Roses. My favorite. Like that would fix anything. I didn't open the door. Kennedy, please. I know you're in there. Your car's in the lot. Just talk to me. I stayed silent, my back pressed against the door. I messed up. I know I messed up, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can work through it. You're my wife. I filed for divorce, I said through the door. You'll get the papers this week. Silence. Then, you can't be serious. Dead serious. Kennedy, come on. One mistake. It wasn't one mistake. It was a pattern of disrespect, a pattern of settling, a pattern of wanting someone else while pretending you wanted me. I want you. I married you. You married wife material. You married the smart choice. You didn't marry me. That's not fair. What's not fair is you putting my business on blast at our own reception. What's not fair is me finding out how you really feel about me in front of 200 people. What's not fair is you texting your ex about how you settled. My voice cracked, and I hated myself for it. You don't get to tell me what's fair. Just let me see you, face to face. Let me explain. There's nothing to explain. I read what you wrote. I know how you feel. And I'm not going to spend my life with someone who sees me as the practical choice. You're more than that. Then why didn't you say that to your boys? Why didn't you defend me? Why didn't you tell them I'm the love of your life? I'm the one you can't live without. I'm everything you ever wanted. I was crying now, angry tears that burned. You had the chance to talk about me the way a man talks about his soulmate, and instead you talked about me like a business decision. Kennedy, go away, Terrence. Sign the papers when they come. Let me go. I love you. No, you don't. You love the idea of me, and that's not enough. He stayed in the hallway for another 10 minutes, then finally left. I heard his footsteps recede, heard the elevator ding, heard silence return. Then I slid down the door and sat on my floor and cried until I had nothing left. The story went viral. Not national news or anything, but DC viral. Blogs picked it up, Twitter threads dissected it. Someone even made a TikTok recreating the reception scene with actors. The Smart Choice wedding became shorthand for public humiliation, and I became a meme. Everywhere I went, people recognized me. At the grocery store, at the gym, at the coffee shop near the hospital. Some were sympathetic, some were curious. A few were cruel, suggesting I should have known, should have seen the signs, should have been enough to be his first choice. Those were the worst, the ones who made it my fault. By the end of January, I'd lost 10 pounds from stress, stopped sleeping more than 4 hours a night, and seriously considered my brother's offer to move to Houston. The only thing keeping me in DC was stubbornness, and the fact that I refused to let Terrence win. Then Simone called me. I didn't recognize the number, almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Kennedy? Hi, this is Simone Clark. I don't know if Terrence mentioned me. He did. I know who you are. Silence. Then, can we meet? I think we should talk. We met at a coffee shop in Columbia Heights, far enough from both our neighborhoods to feel neutral. She looked like her Instagram photos. Tall, dark-skinned, natural hair in a high puff, dressed in a way that suggested artist or creative, lots of layers and jewelry. Pretty, magnetic, the kind of woman who'd make a man write chemistry and spark and intensity. I hated her on sight. Then she sat down and said, I'm sorry. And I hated her a little less. For what? For texting him back. For entertaining it. I saw he got married. I saw what happened at your reception, and I felt sick, because I'm part of why it happened. You didn't make him marry me while thinking of you. No, but I didn't shut him down either. When he reached out after the conference, I should have told him to focus on his relationship. Instead, we flirted. We talked about old times. I let him think there could still be something there. Could there? She looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw something like regret in her eyes. No. Terrence and I are terrible together. We were in college, and we'd be now. We're too different. He needs structure, and I need freedom. He wants roots, and I want wings. It never would have worked long term, but he thinks it would. He thinks I'm the one who got away, but really I'm just the one who wouldn't stay. She stirred her coffee, her bracelets jangling. He put me on a pedestal because I left, because I didn't give him the chance to get bored, but if we'd actually tried to build a life together, he would have realized we're incompatible. I wanted to be angry at her, to blame her for my failed marriage. But sitting across from her, hearing the honesty in her voice, I couldn't. She wasn't the villain. Neither was I. Terrence was the one who'd played us both. Did he send you the screenshots? I asked. The ones from the group chat? She nodded slowly. After the reception, after everything blew up, he sent them to me with a message saying, See, I told you I was thinking about you. Like it was romantic. Like publicly humiliating his bride was proof of his feelings. What did you say? I blocked him, told him he was messed up and needed therapy. She met my eyes. I'm sorry he used you as a stepping stone to try to get back to me. And I'm sorry he didn't see how lucky he was to have you. Something in my chest loosened. Not forgiveness exactly, but understanding. We'd both been pawns in Terrence's fantasy, the good girl and the wild girl, the wife and the muse. He'd wanted us to fit his narrative instead of being real people with our own lives. What are you going to do? Simone asked. Divorce him. Move on. Try to remember who I was before I became the smart choice. She smiled, sad and knowing. For what it's worth, I think you're brave. I think walking away from a man who doesn't see your value takes more strength than staying. After she left, I sat in the coffee shop for a long time, watching people come and go, watching lives unfold around me. Students with laptops, parents with kids, couples holding hands. Everyone had their own story, their own heartbreak, their own version of getting through. I pulled out my phone. I'd started keeping it on again, had stopped hiding from the messages and DMs. Most of them were supportive now, people sharing their own stories of bad relationships, public humiliations, marriages that ended before they started. One message in particular caught my eye. It was from a woman named Tasha, someone I didn't know. She wrote, I saw what happened and I just want to say thank you. Thank you for walking away. Thank you for showing that we don't have to settle for men who see us as safe instead of essential. You're an inspiration. An inspiration. I'd never thought of it that way. I'd been so focused on my own humiliation that I hadn't considered what my story might mean to other people. What it might mean to be the woman who said not good enough and walked away instead of trying to make it work. I started responding to messages. Not all of them, but the ones that mattered. The ones from women who'd stayed with men who didn't choose them first. The ones from people who were inspired to leave their own situations. The ones who reminded me I wasn't alone. The divorce went faster than expected. Terrence didn't fight it. Couldn't fight it, really. Not after the reception and the viral story and the public evidence of his disrespect. By March, 2 weeks after what would have been our reception anniversary, we were officially divorced. Kennedy Lawson again, single again, free again. My friends threw me a divorce party. Not sad, not bitter, celebratory. We went to a rooftop bar in Shaw, drank expensive cocktails, danced to Megan Thee Stallion. Aisha gave a toast to Kennedy, who knows her worth, who refuses to be anyone's backup plan, who's going to find a man who sees her as the one or stay single and happy. We drank to that, and I meant it. I did go to therapy. Started in April with a Black woman therapist in Silver Spring who specialized in relationship trauma. Dr. Morrison. She had me journal, meditate, reframe. She helped me see that Terrence's failure to love me fully wasn't about my lack. It was about his. That being the smart choice wasn't an insult to who I was, it was an indictment of who he was. That I deserved to be someone's passion and their stability, their fire, and their home. She also helped me grieve. Not just the marriage, but the future I'd imagined. The kids we'd talked about, the house we'd planned to buy, the life we'd been building. All of it gone. And that was okay to mourn. By summer, I felt like myself again. Not the same self. I'd been changed by everything that happened, but a self I recognized and respected. I cut my hair short, a tapered cut that made me feel bold. Started taking a dance class at a studio in Brooklyn. Said yes to blind dates my friends set up, even though none of them went anywhere. Focused on work, on my patience, on the tangible good I could do in the world. One Saturday in July, I ran into Terrence at Eastern Market. We literally bumped into each other near the produce stands, both reaching for peaches at the same time. He looked thinner, older, tired. Kennedy, hi. Hi. Awkward silence. Then, how are you? Good. Really good, actually. He nodded, searching my face like he was looking for cracks in the foundation. That's good. That's good. How are you? I'm okay. Working a lot. Trying to figure things out. Another silence. Then, I'm sorry for everything. I know I said it before, but I need to say it again. I'm sorry for how I treated you, for what I put you through. You deserved better. I know. He blinked, surprised by my certainty. I messed up the best thing that ever happened to me. Maybe. Or maybe we just weren't right for each other and it took a public disaster for us to see it. I did love you. I know. Just not enough. Not the right way. He looked like he wanted to say more, but I was done with the conversation. I grabbed my peaches, gave him a polite smile, and walked away. And for the first time since the reception, I didn't feel angry or sad or humiliated. I just felt free. That night, my girls came over for our weekly Sunday dinner, a tradition we'd started after the divorce, taking turns cooking and hosting. This week was my turn. I made jerk chicken and rice and peas, my grandmother's recipe, and we sat on my balcony watching the sunset over the city. "You seem different," Janelle observed. "Lighter. I feel lighter. You ran into him, right?" Aisha had the uncanny ability to know things. "I saw him post an Instagram story from Eastern Market." "Yeah. We talked. It was fine." "Just fine?" He apologized. I accepted. We moved on. "It's done." Nicole raised her glass. To it being done. To Kennedy's next chapter. We clinked glasses, and I meant it this time. This wasn't about forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. It was about knowing that I survived, that I walked through fire and came out stronger, clearer, more sure of what I deserved. September brought new routines. I applied for a promotion at the hospital, clinical coordinator position, more responsibility, better pay. I started mentoring nursing students from Howard, giving back to the next generation. I took a solo trip to Charleston, spent a weekend eating good food and walking through history and remembering that I could be alone without being lonely. And slowly, quietly, I started to believe that my story wasn't about the man who saw me as second choice. It was about the woman who refused to accept that, who walked away from a wedding, a marriage, a life that looked perfect on paper but felt hollow in practice, who chose herself when it would have been easier to stay. October came with cool air and falling leaves. 1 year since Terrence and I had sent out wedding invitations. 1 year since I thought I knew where my life was headed. Now I was somewhere completely different, and surprisingly, I was okay with it. Better than okay. I was having coffee with Simone. We'd become unlikely friends over the months, bonding over being collateral damage in Terrence's fantasy. She was teaching art at a community center in Anacostia and dating a musician who made her laugh. She seemed happy. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked me. "Not fighting for the marriage?" "No. You can't fight for something that was never real." "Fair," she smiled. "You know what Terrence told me once, back when we were dating? He said he loved me because I was unpredictable. Like that was a compliment. Like my humanity, my changes, my growth, my complexity, was entertainment for him. He told his friends I was predictable. Like that was my flaw. We were both just characters in his story. He wanted the chaos and the calm, the passion and the stability. He wanted to have it all without choosing. Some people never learn to choose, I said. They just keep all their options open until they end up alone. Is he alone? I don't know. I stopped checking. That felt like the real freedom. Not caring what happened to him next. Not wondering if he regretted losing me, or if he finally realized what he'd given up. Just letting go. Releasing him, and that version of myself that thought being the smart choice was enough. November arrived. Almost 1 year since the conference where Terrence ran into Simone, where he started the texts that would unravel everything. Almost 1 year since he started questioning whether I was the one. I was having dinner at my parents' house in Atlanta for Thanksgiving when my mother said, "You know what I'm most proud of?" "What?" "That you didn't stay. That you didn't try to make it work with a man who disrespected you. That you valued yourself enough to walk away." I didn't feel valuable at the time. I felt humiliated. "But you did it anyway. That's courage, baby. Not feeling brave and doing the thing anyway." My father nodded. "Your grandmother used to say that a woman who knows her worth is unstoppable. You're unstoppable, Kennedy." I looked around the table. My parents, my brother and his wife, my aunt and uncle, the family that had held me together when I was falling apart. I thought about the Kennedy from a year ago, the one planning a wedding and believing in forever. I thought about the Kennedy from the reception, watching her world collapse in real time. And I thought about the Kennedy I was now, scarred but whole, single but not lonely, learning to be enough all by myself. "I'm going to be okay," I said, and I believed it. December came fast. 1 year since the wedding, that wasn't. 1 year since the reception that ended everything. People asked if I was dreading the anniversary, if I'd be sad or angry or bitter. But when the date came, December 20th, a Friday, I felt nothing but grateful. Grateful it happened. Grateful it ended. Grateful I found out who Terrence really was before I spent decades with him. Grateful for the lesson, even though it hurt. Grateful for the woman I became on the other side. I didn't spend the day alone. Aisha planned a new beginnings dinner, her words, and we went to a fancy restaurant in Georgetown, just us girls, dressed up and drinking wine and laughing about everything that had happened. About the reception, the messages, the viral TikToks, about Terrence showing up with flowers and me divorcing him anyway, about the whole messy, public, painful journey from wife to ex-wife to self. You know what's funny? Nicole said. A year ago, we were all at your wedding thinking, this is it. Kennedy's got her happily ever after. And now we're here celebrating your divorce and you're happier than you've ever been. Not happier, I corrected, but more myself, more sure, more free. That's better than happy, Janelle said. That's peace. Peace. That was the word. Not happiness, not joy, not ecstasy. Just peace. The quiet confidence of knowing I'd made the right choice. The bone-deep certainty that I was exactly where I needed to be. We toasted to that. To peace. To new beginnings. To women who choose themselves. And if you've stayed with me this whole time, if you've listened to this story and recognized pieces of yourself in it, the settling, the hoping, the trying to be enough for someone who's already decided you're not, then I want you to hear this. You are the one. Maybe not for him, maybe not for the person who made you feel like a checkbox, but you're the one for yourself. And that's what matters. That's what lasts. So if this story helped you, if it gave you permission to walk away from your own smart choice situation, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we're all in this together, figuring out how to love ourselves enough to demand better. It's been almost a year since all of this happened. I'm writing this in November 2025, almost 2 years since the reception. And I'm good. Really, truly good. I got the promotion at work. I'm mentoring 3 nursing students. I'm dating. Nothing serious yet, but I'm open to it. I have my apartment, my friends, my routines. I have therapy every other week and dance class on Thursdays and Sunday dinners with my girls. And I have my story. The one about the reception where my husband for 2 hours projected our group chat and called me the smart choice in front of everyone we knew. The one about walking away from a marriage on the day I entered it. The one about choosing myself when it would have been easier to stay and try to be enough for someone who'd already decided I wasn't. I'm not grateful it happened. I wouldn't wish that kind of public humiliation on anyone. But I'm grateful for who I became because of it. For the strength I found, for the voice I discovered, for the woman I am now, who knows her worth and won't settle for anything less than being someone's first choice, last choice, only choice. Terrence texted me last month. First time in over a year. Just, I hope you're well. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. He'd said everything that mattered on those projected screens at our reception, and I'd said everything that mattered when I filed for divorce. We were done. Finished. Released. I saw on Instagram, because yes, I still check sometimes, that he's dating someone new. She looks nice. I hope he treats her better than he treated me. I hope he's learned. I hope he's grown. But mostly, I hope he's her problem now and not mine. As for me, I'm figuring it out. Day by day, choice by choice, moment by moment. I'm learning that being single isn't failing, it's just being. That being alone doesn't mean being lonely. That the love I was searching for from Terrence was always inside me, waiting for me to find it. I'm still Kennedy Lawson, still a nurse practitioner in DC, still 29, though not for much longer. My birthday's next month. Still learning, still growing, still becoming. And this time, I'm enough. Not because someone chose me, but because I chose myself. The other day, Mrs. Patterson, the cardiac patient from last year, came back to the hospital for a follow-up. She remembered me, gave me a hug, asked how I was doing. "Did you find your person?" she asked. "The one worth choosing?" I smiled. I did. Turns out she was me all along. She laughed, delighted. "Smart girl. Now you're ready for the real thing." Maybe she's right. Maybe choosing yourself first is what makes you ready to be chosen by someone who sees you clearly, loves you fully, never makes you feel like the safe option or the smart choice. Maybe that's coming. Maybe it's not. Either way, I'll be okay. Because I know now what I didn't know at that reception 2 years ago. Being the smart choice isn't an insult. It's just the wrong framework. Love isn't about smart or passionate, practical or intense. It's about 2 people choosing each other fully, without reservation, without backup plans, without wondering if there's something better out there. And when I find that, if I find that, it'll be with someone who sees me and says, her, it's always been her. Until then, I'm saying it to myself, every day. In the mirror, in my journal, in the quiet moments before sleep. Me, it's always been me. And that's enough. That's everything. That's the real new beginning.